Hi there, my name's Anthony. Here on this channel today, we're talking about personal finance. Personal finance is usually something talked about by YouTubers who have money, but I'm just some broke guy. So if you will, let's go ahead, look at money from the perspective of somebody who doesn't have any. If you're like me, you think about money but you don't have any, you may want to hit subscribe because that's what we do here on this channel. Many years ago, I used to be an insurance agent, and as an insurance agent, there was always this term that floated around. It was called bad debt. And basically, it was kind of like the amount of money left on an insurance policy that someone didn't pay. But the term always confused me because my understanding about debt was that all debt was bad debt, right? Not necessarily. So there is a difference between good debt and bad debt. Don't worry, the insurance analogy is done. You don't have to know anything else about insurance in order to get the rest of this video. See, the difference between good debt and bad debt is that good debt helps you make more money or adds to your, if you will, your net worth once it's paid off or even during. As somebody who doesn't really have a lot of money, you may think you don't have a net worth, but here are a few examples that people often have in their everyday lives. An example of good debt could potentially be a car, could potentially be a house. Essentially, it's a debt that after it's paid off and even sometimes during payments, you are gaining what's called principal on. Principal is basically your ownership stake of it, in this analogy at least. So for instance, many people out there have probably owned a car at one point, and you know that there's a certain point where you're no longer upside down on the car. Well, that means that you actually own more than the loan is worth. And it's this concept that allows debt to be good debt. It's debt that actually serves a purpose. Versus something like credit card debt, where once it's paid off, nothing really happens. It's just kind of there, like a rock or something. Except unlike a rock, it's not there. There's nothing physically there. It's like a rock you can't touch, taste, smell, or feel. I'm just now realizing I'm encouraging people to taste rocks. No, please don't taste rocks. The point withstanding that good debt is debt that helps you in some way, while a bad debt, or just as you probably know it, debt in general doesn't. So, for instance, if you're able to get a house loan at like 3%, that for a lot of people may be less than inflation. Meaning over time, over that 30 years, as far as a certain point of reference, taking out that loan could actually cost you less than paying for it in cash. I know, it's a weird concept, and we'll talk more about that sort of financial thinking in a future video, I'm sure, but just trust me, it makes more sense than it sounds. Another really good example of something that could be considered good debt could be your school loans, or if you're deciding to go back to school. This is something that will enrich your life. Hopefully you would get your education and then come back into the workforce as a higher earner, meaning taking out that debt will pay dividends for you in the long run. Another example that may touch some people is if you get like what's called a home equity loan. This can be what's called good debt because, for instance, let's say you use that home equity loan to fix the house up, meaning you may actually increase the value of the home, the resale value, more than the money you took out. So something like this could actually turn out to be a net positive for you. Some examples of bad debt that may touch many people's lives are, like I mentioned earlier, credit cards. These can be very, very bad. Not only are they generally high interest rate, but they also they don't, for the most part, pay any sort of dividends forward. There is an argument to be made that, perhaps you're doing something like churning for points, or perhaps you're purchasing something and you're going to pay cash for it and all that. But let's face it, most of us don't do that. Many people who try to do it fail and just end up owing a lot of money. Another example that affects a lot of us here at the bottom tiers of the economic ladder, payday loans. Payday loans are deceptively bad. They invite you in, they are friendly, and they tell you about how, oh, well, if you pay this back within a certain amount of time, it's only going to be this interest rate. But that's not the APY. That's literally the interest between this date and this date. Meaning you're not paying 11% APY like you would on a regular loan. You're paying like 11% for the next 2 weeks. That's a lot of money, and it adds up, especially if you can't pay it back immediately. In addition to that, when you're done, depending on what you spend the money on, you may not have any returns on that. So getting one of these loans in order to avoid, let's say, a late charge or something like that on, let's say, a utility bill or what have you, maybe it's just better to get the late fee. Again, I'm not talking smack about people who, feel the need to take these loans. I'm just saying, oof, yeah, think about it more than once. That's all I'm saying. And because I mentioned it in the other half, the things that where it can be good debt, auto loans can also be bad debt. Purchasing a car that is expected to go significantly down in value, that is bad debt. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. Feel free to ask questions down there in the comment section down below, and in a future video, I may address them. I'd like to thank 2 major people. Okay, 3 kind of. First person I'd like to thank, Michael Scheisel, who has been supporting me on Patreon since day number 1 when I launched it. Very much appreciated, Michael. You're a legend. If you'd like to support me like Michael does and help me create more content like this, there is a link down in the description where you can follow me on Patreon, get videos like this early, and other miscellaneous perks and updates and whatnots. Person number 2, Krysis. Krysis is the editor of this video. He's amazing. He's the only reason that I'm even able to do this, and I very much appreciate everything that you do for this channel, Krysis. You can find his link to Twitch down below. He streams all sorts of FPS goodness and other miscellaneous fun games. He's a really cool, chill dude. He's one of the few people on Twitch that I actually follow, and the fact that he is willing to do this, it just means the world to me. Thank you so much, Krysis. You're amazing! And the third sort of person would be you! Thank you so much for watching this video. I totally understand. Not everybody can support content like this via Patreon. Not everybody can, do other things. But you know what you can do? You watched. That's enough. That's amazing, and I appreciate you. And you know what? Look, I know I may be asking a lot, but if you could just go ahead and tap that like button, turn it blue, that'd be amazing. I would appreciate it. You don't have to, but I promise, hey, it's free. Go ahead, do it now, try it. Thank you so much for joining me here today talking about finance from the perspective of somebody who doesn't really have any finances, but also somebody who is in the process of rebuilding, somebody who doesn't have $100 grand a year to throw around like some of these YouTube finance gurus seem to have for some reason. I hope this video has been helpful for you. I hope the rest of these videos are going to be helpful for you. I hope you've subscribed. Till next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all those things that absolutely positively make me love my job. Also, be awesome to yourself and amazing to each other. Bye. Thank you so much for watching today's vlog. If you'd like to watch more content, that's on screen now. Also, if you'd like to support this channel, you can find a Patreon link at the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Next vlog?